Anybody to throw light on that? Uh, Millie? Millie, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Have you started working on your project yet?
Yes, I've started. I'm doing a little bit of research to find the proper material for outdoor seating, so that it stays durable and everything. And I'll go on design stage now.
Great. And have you collaborated or tried to initiate a conversation with somebody else just to have an opinion or their insight on the same?
Sorry.
Have you gone out of your friend zone or somewhere and have you taken somebody's expertise or have you collaborated with any other participants from the competition to go ahead with?
Actually, one of my senior is in this competition. I have had a conversation and all about this thing.
Great, great.
Yeah.
Sujal, what are your progress?
Actually, right now I'm just at my research stage. I'm just identifying a real problem that needs to be solved. And after my research is complete, I'll move on to planning the furniture.
Did the last time session helped you? If you remember?
Yes, it helped me a lot.
So I
Uh,
assume your
the specifically the
sorry.
question I asked about what's the design that and his answer about hot and cold that really helped.
Okay. So you're trying to figure out the purpose basically, if I'm not wrong. Like
Yes.
last time.
Hello. Uh, can I request everyone to please inform your colleagues and friends so we can start in few minutes. Parshva completed his bachelor's degree from School of Science and Technology, SAP University. He is a civil engineer by qualification, but his fascination for art and architecture motivated him into the aesthetic side of the construction industry. As a result, he started Artemis Cast Stone, first company in India to use cast stone technology in creating high-quality, eco-friendly architectural products, embraced by a unique and profound study of the material. The remarkable thing about their product is their raw material. Artemis uses stone dust and waste produced from mines and quarries to rebuild stronger and glass-reinforced stonecrete products, ranging from landscaping element, furnitures, architectural screens, and interior decors in various form, size, color, and shape. Today, Artemis products are part of many renowned projects across India. Artemis is a proud member of the IGBC, India Green Building Council. Their products have been exhibited in various national and international events such as Raw Collaborative, Design Collective, India Design, India Art Fair, and India Pavilion at the London Design Biennale. And today we are adding our design talk to this list. I'm sure his wisdom of blending engineering with design and finding sustainable material solution will inspire our participants for the competition. Thank you very much, Parshva Shah. Mike is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bharat, for having me over. And I'm extremely glad to be here to be able to talk to these design students about making furniture and the entire process that you guys undertaking up. So thank you so much again. Uh, Hello everyone. My name is Parshva, and as Bharat has introduced me, uh, I think it might be best. I'm just looking at a black screen over here. It might be a bit better if I can, see a bit more faces. It might look more human and feel like I'm talking to humans and not just a screen. So just a request, if you can see more faces on the screen here.
I request all the participants, please. That much is nothing. Nobody's gonna judge you, okay? You all have been into Navratri late nights, so our eyes are all blotted up, but we understand. Can we have all the participants turn on their screens? Yeah, I see a lot of faces now. It's good to interact with humans rather than dark black screens. So over to you, Pasha.
Yes. Okay, so I think I'll want to start with a small question for you guys, rather than just me outrightly going around and talking around something. Um, just the general idea of anybody can maybe say a couple of things. What do you exactly mean by outdoor furniture? What does outdoor furniture essentially mean? Or what's the idea about it, or what does it? What's the importance of it, or what does the larger picture of outdoor furniture mean for any of the participants? Anybody can just
Guys, this is a question. Millie, enlighten us.
Furniture which is durable and can withstand all weather conditions. Uh, Means outdoor furniture has that particular feature which separates it from indoor furniture, I guess, and are for rough and tough use.
okay. So durability basically. Okay.
Yeah.
Ayushi, Ayushi Chavda. I don't think so she's hearing me. Sakshi, your take on it?
Furniture should be made like according to the purpose of like the use. Like
Okay. Okay. All right.
Anybody else? Kesvi?
The furniture which is basically made for public use and anyone can sit on it.
Okay. All right. So I think yeah, I think I've got the basic idea now what we mean. So then what I'll do is I'll start with scratch. I'll start with how I actually started. I'm an engineer by profession. I'm not a trained designer. So I haven't been taught in college to, make sketches, think of ergonomics, or think of a lot of things that designers are generally taught to. But I've developed my own process, and it's been almost 8 years since we've been making a lot of products from concrete. So how the process started was I initially never started with furniture or any of the stuff that you might have seen uh, or Barbara would have sent you the list for. I initially started by making bricks. So the initial idea was I made a material and not a product. So the product was just a byproduct of the entire process. The main idea was to create a material which is like, let's say, something like metal. So you can use metal to create a lot of different set of things. So the same thing here. We started by making a material which was cast stone. We got quarry dust. We tried playing around with it. Not we meaning I started it in my thesis at grad college at SEP, and I started making bricks. So bricks was the first set of products that we started making. The bricks were extremely good. They were very strong. But the entire idea of making bricks entirely for a living and bricks being an extremely flooded market, वहाँ पे इतने सारे लोग बहुत सारी चीजें कर रहे हैं. So that wasn't the call for me. So I ended up joining another center, an incubation center, where they really help people with a new technology, a new idea. And incubation centers were just the beginning at that point of time in 2015 in India. So I ended up there and ended up pushing myself to create more and more. So we started making planters. We started doing lighting fixtures, some small set of products, and eventually furniture at some point of time, maybe after 6 months or a year of starting, we realized that, oh wow, okay, let's do furniture because we've made the material. Now the material it's going to let us do everything that we can really think of. There are a certain few limitations that are there, but that material is going to let us get to the sky. So we thought, let's do furniture. So that is how we got into the furniture segment. It wasn't a thought after a well-designed process where we got into the business saying that okay, we're going to make furniture, we're going to do this, that. It's always been like we've gone with the flow and we've only explored the okay, ये अच्छा लग रहा है तो ये कर लेते चलो, let's see. We've been experimenting, we've been playing around a lot, and it's been a fun journey. The process has been very simple in terms of how do we approach it, but the overall material is essentially we use a stone dust. So there is Drangadra, there's a place called Drangadra in Gujarat. It's a big stone extraction center. Even in Kutch, there's a lot of sandstone. So sandstone is essentially a very, very, very brittle stone. So when we're extracting sandstone, that sandstone generates lots and lots of dust. So if anybody has been to Rajasthan, you see a lot of heaps of these dusts if you're traveling through parts of Rajasthan, Kutch, anywhere on the roadsides. So what happens is people extract stone. There's a lot of this slurry that gets generated in the process, even if it's in a gang saw. So you get these big chunks of stone, then they're sliced into smaller pieces. So for every 1 ton of stone that gets extracted, there's almost 350, 400 odd kgs of stone dust that gets generated. So what happens to that? Is there any way, where do you dump all that stone dust? It has no use. You can't use it in anything literally apart from road backfillings or some other small uses. So then what do you really do with that? So we realized that, okay, let's do one thing. Let's try and use the stone dust. We mixed it up with a bit of cement, a bit of lime, a bit of admixtures into it. We tried compressing it and the bricks came out and they came out extremely well. So that is how the initial process started. And after that, we realized that, okay, instead of bricks, if you want to do planters, if you want to do lights, if you want to do a lot of things. So we essentially made a concrete out of that stone dust. So that is why the name cast stone. That's how the name evolution eventually came out. And Artemis is the mother of Alexander. She built the Temple of Ephesus. That was one of the 7 wonders of the world in the previous generations. So that was built out of sandstone. So that is why the name Artemis Cast Stone it came up. But the thing is, the product itself, the process has been extremely tough. Meaning there is no background to it, there is no backing, there is nothing that we can go and relate to, or there is no reference point. So even the process, the way we build the products, the way we evolved the process, the way we started using the material, the way we procure it, the way we process it, everything has been a challenge and it has been an amazing journey because everything has been evolved. There is nothing that we've sort of taken upon or you know that okay, you take a piece of wood, you file it, you cut it, you saw it, you rub it, you polish it. There is a certain set of process that is already evolved. In our case, there is nothing of that sort. So everything that we've been able to do has been literally developed from scratch. And everything is more like a jugaad. In our sense, we call it a jugaad because that's the only way to go around it. Some things click, some things don't click. And a lot of things don't click, only some do. But I think that's how the process is. But yeah, so that's how the process started. That we started making bricks, then we got to planters, then we got to a lot of other products. In the meantime, we thought that okay, let's do decor, let's do a certain other set of things. We did facades also. But eventually, I think we're extremely happy in working with furniture and planters essentially. So that's more like the background on the material and how the overall journey has been like. But yeah, so the best part is all of the products. We have more than 350 odd products in our catalog right now. And all of these products are handmade. There is hardly any machines that are involved in the process. And everything being handmade, each piece has its own character, its own aesthetic, its own purpose, its own function, and its own overall functionality. So, talking about the context for designing, I think it's extremely important. So, when I ask you, what do you mean by furniture? I think furniture is not just a place where you sit upon. Furniture could mean a lot more, so, and especially for outdoors, because it's like having a landing on a staircase. Like, you're walking, you need a landing just for you to get that breathing space. So it becomes that. But furniture for me would probably mean uh, benches, stools, um, let's say even dustbins for that matter, or maybe a lounger, maybe a daybed, maybe a outdoor table for somebody to just have grab a seat, maybe a bus stop. A lot of these elements would probably form a part of the outdoor furniture category, and uh, not just a bench or a stool. So on the larger picture, it's essentially a place where a lot more is happening in terms of the furniture in the overall context. So let's say a person is just walking through a road, or he's passing through the riverfront in Ahmedabad, or he's just trying to get from one village to the other, or whatever his process is. So a breathing space, a place where he can just get a shade, he can rest for a bit, he can sit for a couple of minutes. Or let's say if it's a residential scheme, then a place where kids can play around, the elders can sit around and chat. So there's a lot of these set of things in terms of context that the furniture is really going to be looking at. And so when you're designing something, I think looking at the context, that what is the furniture being designed for? What is the space? What is the essential need? And why do you need that furniture there? So these are the major factors that you want to be looking at in terms of why do you want that furniture there? What's the overall design language? What's the overall design language of the surroundings also? That let's say if it's a concrete jungle and we have more concrete into it, or let's say it's an extremely natural space where it's a landscape, it has a beautiful view to it, and you put designing a furniture for there, let's say a beachfront or an extremely nice hill station where it has a very good view. And all of these set of factors are extremely important to factor in, that you taking these factors, you build according to the environment, and you create something which just is a part of the environment and not something extremely out of the place. At least that's what I believe in, that you create something which the space where it's extremely minimal, it's for the environment, and it's not something where we've created a parametric bench for something which is extremely minimal and linear, or you've created something which is extremely minimal for a very high curvy surface, something like that. So that sort of a context is extremely necessary. The second thing that I would want to look at when we're doing furniture is the function and the purpose of it. Who is going to sit there? What do they want, or what would they envision? Let's say somebody gets down from a bus station. He just wants to sit there for 10-15 minutes, maybe wait for another vehicle who's coming in. Maybe he's waiting for somebody to come and pick him up. So those set of ideas are extremely important. That what is the space? What are the people who are going to be there looking forward to they're trying to use an entire furniture system or whatever that is. So the function, the context, those two things are probably the most important things that's gonna define the overall purpose of a furniture piece, especially for outdoors. Because indoors and outdoors, they are two extremely very different things, very different purposes. But outdoors, I think this becomes very important. And again, as I said, the durability of it. That's somebody said durability. So that's one very important thing because let's say India is a big country. And if we're looking at the Indian context, I think there's a lot of people who are going to be using a certain piece of furniture at over a certain period of time. The kind of exposure, the kind of views, the overall so let's say किसी ने खाना बैठ के खाना खा लिया, somebody dropped oil over all over the furniture. He had some oily food in his tiffin, and he just dropped oil on your furniture, and that's gonna stay in your furniture. Now, how do you actually resolve something like that? Or let's say it rained heavily, or somewhere it snowed extremely heavily, or the area got entirely flooded and your furniture was entirely underwater for a period of say 5 days. What happens in those set of cases? Or for example, let's say in India the heat is extremely high. So temperatures get up to 35, 40, 45 degrees. The road temperatures might go even above 50 because of the color, temperature, and everything. How do you resolve these set of durability issues when you're designing an outdoor furniture? So the first part that we did was we designed the material in a certain way. So let's say we designed a bench which is just 50 thick. It's a very simple C, and it's hardly visible if you see it from the elevation perspective. It's a very simple seating structure. It works. The material that we've designed, it's a glass reinforced base matrix. So we use a certain type of glass fibers that are imported in from Japan, and these glass fibers help us do extremely thin sections, and there is no steel. So the best part about our products is when we use concrete, the problem about concrete is when you say the concrete has a life, concrete essentially doesn't have a life. The steel does. So what happens is there's concrete and there's steel in between. Water starts getting into the concrete, the steel starts falling. Falling meaning it starts corroding, and corrode होते वो expand होता है, expand होते फिर वो धीरे 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 करके it start diminishing. So what happens is that steel goes away in a period of 10, 15, 20 years. So what happens once you do that? Once एक बार steel चला गया, उसकी पूरी अंदर का जो भी whatever was holding it together, it's gone. Then what happens? The concrete starts giving way. It will have a lot more other issues that keep coming up, and over time, it's going to rot and spawn. So what we did is we removed the steel from the concrete. Now, what do you do to? So concrete has two parts. If I'm talking about it technically, one is compression. Compression is when you compress, and the other part is tension is when you pull. So concrete takes care of compression. And what happens is steel is doing the tension part, the flexural part. अभी steel निकाल दिया तो क्या करेंगे? Flexural कौन देखेगा? So we introduced a couple of reinforcements. One is a glass-based mat. One is a glass-based reinforcement. Glass is inert. Glass किसी के साथ react नहीं करता है. We have glasses all around, right? Our windows and everything. They don't react to the environment. They might heat, they might get cold, they might freeze, they might thaw, but also they won't react how steel does, essentially. So the minute we started using glass into a matrix, it let us do two very important things. One is the durability part of it in terms of the overall weather exposure was sorted. And the other part is concrete in general as a material is extremely bulky. So when you look at conventional concrete, it is in your mind, it feels heavy. It feels कि ये तो बहुत भारी होगा. इसको तो हटा नहीं सकते. इसको तो क्रेन से गिराना पड़ेगा. ये इतना हेवी चीज कौन रखेगा यहाँ पे? कितना लोड आएगा? इसको साफ कैसे करेंगे? इसको मेंटेन कैसे करेंगे? So these set of questions were resolved the minute we could get our section thicknesses down to 25 mm, 20 mm, 30 mm, 40 mm, 50 mm at the max. So even if you're doing a 8 feet by 4 feet on a tabletop, we only do it in 60 mm thickness, which is conventionally unthought of. Because generally क्या होता था, कंक्रीट करना है तो 6 इंच 8 इंच तो करना ही पड़ेगा, नहीं तो कैसे रहेगा, स्टील को कवर चाहिए. So those set of questions keep coming up. So these two questions were approached when we looked at it in a different perspective, where you're looking at it as कि steel निकाल देते हैं फिर सोचते हैं क्या करना है. So that's how the material sort of got developed, and all of these processes are happening parallelly. Where we are also working on the material, हम लोग design भी कर रहे हैं product. कुछ चीजें टूट रही है, some things work, some things don't work, and then we go back to the drawing table again, saying, okay, let's try and work on this material this way. So that's the overall process that we've done in terms of the overall the material design, the context, the function, and the durability. So these four major factors are the core for designing any sort of outdoor furniture. It could be for homes, it could be for residential complexes, academic buildings, urban development projects, institutes, wherever and wherever it's necessary. These four would form the core of it. And I think the fifth part, which is most important, is the आपका indoor furniture, आपका outdoor furniture, whoever is going to use it, what are they going to do when they sit there? So when you're designing a piece of furniture, let's say you're designing a piece of furniture for a residential complex. वहां पर, as I said earlier, if let's say 10 people are going to use it, there are going to be 3 elders, there are going to be 2 children, there are going to be 3 middle-aged people, people from different age groups, people from different backgrounds. Maybe let's say if it's a street furniture, a beggar would want to sleep on that bench, right? Or somebody who's in need or who doesn't have a shelter or anything like that, you would be more than happy to just get a good night's sleep on that piece of furniture. Or somebody who's just waiting there. So how do they really look at comfort? Do you think so? Like, is comfort the most important thing for an outdoor furniture? Anybody?
You'll have to unmute yourself to answer the question. No. Or you can always DM. Yeah. Dave
Okay.
says no.
Right. So see, outdoor furniture isn't meant for anybody to sit for long hours, right? It's not a lounger. It's just a breathing space. It's more like a place where somebody is going to spend maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour at the max over there. Or maybe you're sitting at night talking about life in general, कि बांकड़े पे बैठे हैं, or you're just talking about things. So a lot of different ideas go into that. So your idea of designing a furniture piece has to incorporate these set of functions first, because the minute you have your problem statement, this is the kind of problem statement that I'm wanting to solve. A lot of the clutter that is around in terms of the overall design and experience goes away. And you have a very clear line in terms of the essay, these are the set of things that we want to get into. These are the set of things that you have to incorporate. And even if it lacks a couple of things, it's fine. Because एक furniture piece you can't get everything, right? There's going to be something or the other that's going to be missing out, and there's going to be a couple of things that you'll be really focusing on and extremely happy about in the process. So this is how the process sort of looks like. But I think, yeah, this the entire idea of furniture for me is more like it has to be extremely easy on the eye, and it has to give these 5 set of factors a good thought, so that you up the experience of the the users of the furniture in some way. But what I can do is I can actually share a few images. It's just it's the catalog that we have. But what can happen is I can just show you a few images of the kind of work that's been happening. You guys can see it? Yeah.
Yes,
So, yeah. So, yeah, let's say we started doing like the first piece of product that we made was I had these Ames molded chair lying around. The shell was actually broken. Um, and we thought that, okay, let's do one thing. Let's try and create the exact same shell. So we tried making a 15 thin shell in the exact same shape. And this was more like an experiment and not a product. This was purely to just realize and push the material in terms of its overall approach. So this was that. Then let's say these benches. So these are just 25 thin shells that are running along the entire periphery. And these are 7.5 feet long benches, which weigh around, say, 150, 180 kgs. And the same would have been maybe, say, 2 tons or 3 tons if you would have poured them in solid concrete. So these were made for a housing society outside of Ahmedabad, like it's a posh housing society where they have these benches placed. So they have uh, these seating areas that they had at every 100 meters because the approach road was almost a kilometer and a half long, and every 100 meters they had very nice viewing galleries passing through a golf course. So these benches were placed there. So yeah, this is how it sort of look like. So just some example for stools. So yeah, these are extremely interesting, and we devised these from looking at river pebbles. If you see pebbles, even if you go on a riverbed and you're sitting on these pebbles, it's extremely fun and a good experience to play around with pebbles, sit on them, put your feet in them. Um, so that experience we wanted to recreate in our urban spaces because it's very rare to even get to see pebbles or anything close to that in the places we currently live in and reside in. So these were inspired from river pebbles. Yeah, this is how they look like. And these are again hollow built. So yeah, so it's just a 20 shell on the entire periphery, and the entire inner part is all hollow. So yeah, these are let's say these are the three simple benches that I was referring to. That these are extremely simple benches. They are very functional. Uh, the only purpose that they have is they we want people to sit there, rest for a bit, eat something, have their tiffin in the lunch, have their evening tea overlooking the golf course again. And then we had a barbecue space over here. So even we did this also. This is all again done in the same context. Yeah, then this is one more interesting play that we've done. People envision a space where you're sitting and you also have greens around you. But considering the kind of built spaces that are being done right now, having a plant and a bench alongside is extremely tough. So what we did is we integrated that entire unit, made a module where you have a planter, then that extends into a bench, and then you end it with a planter again. So it's a very simple module. You can have repetitions, you can play around with it. So here what's happening is there's a line of it continually. This was a terrace for a farmhouse. So there's an entire array of it. So it's modular. it's fulfilling a purpose, it's fulfilling a sense of privacy, and there's also a sense of green when along where we are sitting. Let's say this table, for example. So this table is 8 feet by 4 feet in size, and it's just a 50 thin shell. It's purely made for the outdoors. Looks extremely neat. It's made precisely for the kind of space that we're looking at. And then there's some teapoys, some tables, again, some furniture for outdoors. So yeah, a lot of this stuff, there's one important thing that we've been doing. Everything is not just a product. A lot of it is customized. Why? Because if we can customize, we can make products which precisely belong to the space where they're supposed to be installed or used for. If we try pushing our own products every time to our clients, it doesn't work all the time, right? You need to find a particular furniture piece for a particular space. But the minute you're able to customize, I think there's a lot more room for design functions and precisely building by knowing that okay, this is the place and let's design something for this and then make it. So that is let us do a lot more stuff. So this is the table that I was referring to. And then we've been playing around with surfaces. So it's not just कि ये plain वाला बना दिया तो सब जगह पे यही चीज हो जाएगी. So what we've done is we've played with colors, we've played with types of stone inlays. The last three tiles that you see over here on the bottom side are our own waste. So there's a lot of waste that gets generated in the process as it's handmade. Everything can't be perfect, right? So what happens to pieces that we end up wasting? We've tried using that same waste and created terrazzo surfaces. Or we had a lot of trees in our workshop, the previous workshop. So all of these leaves, they kept falling, or we could get these leaves from the trees we had access to. So we used those leaves for as an inlay, and we tried playing with materials also. Like there's a brass inlay, there's some CNC machining that's happening. We had wood that was lying around, so we've tried using wood to create surfaces. So it's not just the form, it's also the finish, the color that you can play around with again. If सिर्फ form पे ही खेलना है, that's not necessary, right? Let's say you have a very simple C bench, but then you can play around with colors, you can play around with the surfaces, you can play around with how aesthetically you want to play around with it. So I think furniture could probably be looked at in this way when you're doing these leaf inlays or terrazzo along with the form and function. Here we've played around with these colors where this was a tabletop for an office. There's a lot of color play happening. So yeah, I think this is some of the furniture that we've been doing. Say we have these outdoor table tennis tables. We have like bar tables. Or this was one of the most playful, the left top corner one, most playful projects that we've done where they wanted to do a reception table. So this reception was supposed to handle 3,000-4,000 couriers a day. So we designed a framing system where these tubes were just pushed into them, and that reception was handling a lot of couriers for them. So yeah, that's some of the furniture stuff that we've been doing and playing around with. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. You guys have any questions, any queries, anything that you guys want to ask upon?
Can we have everyone turn on their cameras back on, please? So guys, last time we had a session wherein we talked about design. Now we have an example that an engineer, background person who started with a material and then explored the same material and the expertise with the material into forms. So I think we might have some set of new questions, and I think people from the engineering background should also be motivated since last time they had a little bit of a glitch. So can we, do you guys have any query question? Sujal? Yes,
So
Sujal.
what was your design process? Like you designed all of these yourself, or you had a different design team with you?
So most of it has been designed by me and my craftsmen. So it's not just me who is designing it or a designer who is designing it. A lot of times we get a brief that okay, this is the place that we're looking at for a piece of furniture. We have some standard systems that we devised considering the material limitations. So there are some limitations too. So you can't do extremely thin stuff. You can't do junctions in a certain way. There has to be certain structural stresses have to be considered in. So it's more like an engineered design where the forms are very simplistically designed, and it's a process where me, my craftsmen, and the client who are mostly designers in most cases. So it's a people driven design. It's not a product that has been designed by me, and it's only I'm trying to push that product out.
So every product is after a brief. So every product that you have designed came out of a brief, like someone told you to make it, or you have designed some with your own interest.
A lot of it has been designed because we got a brief that okay, this is the place where we want to design something, and that's how the process has always been. We designed a few set of the products where, let's say, maybe out of the 10, 15, 20 products that we have in the furniture segment, maybe 5 of them would have been designed by us. But those are the design process is essentially, again, as I said earlier, that the focus is on the functional part of it. That how are people going to use that product? That's been the core of our process. Aesthetics do come in, but the point is that aesthetics don't alone solve the entire purpose of the design. Yeah. So a lot of it is people
Thank
driven,
you so
and in that case, we have a lot better opportunity in terms of how do you want to go around it.
So Parshva, I think Roshni has a question. What kind of pigment do you use to colorize cast stone concrete?
So these are oxide-based pigments. So it's essentially metal which is being rusted, and you get a certain pigment. It's a technology from Germany, and we use those set of pigments. The pigments are meant to last in the outdoors. Whereas almost 80-90% of our products are for outdoors. So these are tried and tested pigments.
Mili, do you have any question? Mili?
Hello, sir. In your process of making the furniture, what kind of waste material do you come up with?
So at the end of it or in the mix.
Um, in the process and in the end.
So in the process is there's a stone dust, as I said earlier, which constitutes almost 30% of the mix approximately. And at the end of it, so what happens is we have an approximate idea that okay, this product could weigh, let's say, 100 kg. So we end up making 105, 108 kg just to be on the safer side, so that we don't end up with a bad product. Uh, so to use that 5 kgs, what we do is we make small decor products. So we do small pen stands, we do candle lights, we do extremely small decor products. and then there's some part of waste which has to be discarded upon. So we take it out, it gets dried, and we still not discovered a process where we can use that too. But I'm sure we'll be able to use that too. That the end waste after manufacturing a few set of products also gets into the cycle again, where we become an end-to-end sort of a cycle. But it's not the case yet. We're in the process of figuring out a way.
Parshva, I have a question.
Yeah.
Those benches that you have developed, you said those are hollow. Are we using something else to make the form and then clad it with the concrete slate or whatever you're developing? Or
The pebbles you're saying?
no, not the pebbles. Even I have the same question for the pebbles, but the larger benches that we talked about around the golf course.
Hmm. So no, so essentially what happens is the process is we make a masterpiece. The masterpiece is building the exact product that you want from scratch in an XYZ material. So you could use POP, you could use plywood, you could use any of the handy materials that we have access to easily. So the masterpiece gets built first. On the masterpiece, you end up building a mold. So the mold could again be in multiple materials. That depends on the number of repetitions or the number of pieces that you're looking at, the kind of design it is, the amount of detailing that is going to go into it. And the last is the overall finish that you want of the product. So based on these 4 or 5 factors, we design a mold. So in that mold, the mix gets cast into, and that's how you end up with a product. So if you cast the product today in the mold, the mold gets demolded tomorrow. And then it goes into curing, it goes into finishing, it goes into buffing, it goes into polishing, it goes into coating, then it goes into packing, and then it gets dispatched. So it's essentially we make invert molds. So whatever form you want, the negative of it becomes the mold.
Got it. Got it.
Parshva, I have a question.
Yeah.
Is your product, the end product which you are making, is it recyclable?
It's not completely recyclable essentially, because the minute there's a part of cement into it, the recyclability is going to go away. But then what happens is there are two good things about it. One thing is the life of it. So if we extend the life of it from, let's say, an outdoor furniture in wood, is going to last say 10 years or 15 years. If we extended life of it by a few more years, and the amount of energy that goes into it initially, the embodied energy into it, we try and reduce that as much as we can. And the third part is, I would say, so we have these jaw mills. If you see quarries and other places, they use jaw mills to break larger parts of stone into smaller chunks, right? So if in case if you want to recycle it, we're still exploring the idea about it. But there's a possibility where you put this waste into or a discarded product or the product at the end of its life cycle. If you put into it and if you extract the glass fiber from it and use the rest of whatever is as an aggregate into the mix, there's a possibility that you end up recycling and upcycling the product that was delivered earlier into a new product again. But we're still exploring the possibility. We're still not 100% sure. But that's definitely a way to look at it.
Yes, I think that will be great, but if you provide that kind of service that after 10 years we'll take it back and give it back.
Right.
What is the like warranty or things you give on this product roughly, like 10 years?
Yes, essentially there is no real warranty, because personally saying India mein ek baar once you send across a product, you don't know how it's going to be used, right? You can't really predict the kind of exposure the product is going to have. But in standard cases, whenever we are designing a product, let's say a planter or a bench or a facade, the overall test results that we've done a while back show us that a 20-year life would probably be there. But then again, it all depends on the kind of exposure the product is going to have. So that might vary based on that.
See if it's handled well, then 20 years it can withstand without.
Yeah.
And what is the I think if we give something to you, what is the lead time like you need to
So
deliver?
that depends. So we have a zero stock policy. We keep zero inventory. We'll only manufacture something once an order has been placed and confirmed. And the lead times are a minimum of 3 weeks and go on till 15, 16, 20 weeks, depending on the kind of number that you're looking at. And how are we placed at that certain point of time in terms of manufacturing.
Do we have any questions from the students? Yeah. So Roshni asks, can you elaborate on the molding and casting process for any of our products?
Okay. So essentially, molding is how do you really create a mold for something?
Ayushi? Sorry, Roshni, my bad, Roshni.
We sometimes take the inverse of it.
Correct. So how do you get that inverse?
Like,
I'm not sure.
Okay, so essentially, so what you have to do is you have to create whatever you want. You have to create that in the first case.
Okay.
Okay, that's how that's what you call a masterpiece or a die. You create a masterpiece. So whatever product you want, you'll have to actually create that product from scratch in thin air, out of thin air, by using multiple materials that you have access to. So let's say it could be plywood, you could use ferrocement, you could use POP, you could use resin, you could 3D print, you can do CNC machining. A lot of these multiple techniques are available where you create a masterpiece in the first case. Once that masterpiece is ready, that the quality of the masterpiece is going to govern the overall finish and the quality of a final product. So it's extremely important to create a very good, perfectly finished, and a superb masterpiece. Once that masterpiece is done, you get onto the molding. So you can either use rubber, you can use plywood, you can use fiber, FRP. Mostly 3 or 4 odd materials that you can use in our case to create these molds. If it's metal, if it's based on what material are you going to pour, the kind of mold is going to be based on that. If you're using metal, you could use sand. If you're doing something else, it could be anything else. So in our case, as I said, it's rubber, plywood, fiber in most cases. So you create that negative from on exactly on that masterpiece that you created first off, and you get that mold. So that mold needs to be finished, papered, and rendered or get ready for casting, and then you're able to pour that material into it. Again, the casting techniques are extremely different. There are a lot of ways to cast. You can apply, you can plaster, you can pour, you can spray. So again, that also depends at what do you want, how do you want it, what is the kind of finish, what is the price point at which you are delivering the product. That's one very important aspect where a lot of these factors will boil down to that also. So yeah, that's how the basic process is like. But I think it's a pretty a difficult process to be able to explain on a call like this. Maybe I think a factory or a few photos, I don't have them right now, but that would have been easier for me to explain to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Roshni. Yeah. Anybody else? Rashmi?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll hand it over to Rachita Ben for her insights for the same. Yeah.
Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing well, and your design product is coming along. And as we approach the deadline for the submission, I would like to encourage you all to focus a little bit more on your competition related work. Regarding this session, I would like to tell you that you do have material constraints for this competition. But what you can do is you can start, deep dive into the properties of the material you have given, and according to that you can start putting them in required form or something like that. So yeah, Parshva has created his own material, and after that he has tried upon getting few forms and all. But here the process for all of you is little bit different, and I suggest you to learn the properties of the material you have given first, right? But the design process is something which you can get inspired from. And yes, another exciting news to share is we have lined up another online session on next Sunday. And it will be taken by an expert named architect Priyank Shah. Priyank will be guiding you all on representation techniques. Basically, he will guide you, how to represent your drawings and your related content in, given format effectively. So it will be a great opportunity for you all to learn from someone who has great experience in making presentations look great. So please don't miss it. I will see you all on next Sunday, and I wish you all the best for your ongoing design process.
Thank you, Rachita. Thank you so much, Parshva. I hope you do you have any closing statements to the students? So I hope Bharat have given you an insight of what this competition is all about. Sarjan, has he?
I think we had a very brief talk about it. I'm
You
not.
had the perfect guess that we were looking for. See, because we have this conjunction of designers designing and engineers executing, wherein right now you are the designer and executing. This we are trying to blur the lines because the world is moving towards collaboration, and this can be a very good example because this competition is open for all the designers as well as engineering institutes or backgrounds. So I think thank you so much, and you have set a good example to them. I think they'll be motivated. Do you have any closing statement for the students who's going to participate?
No, I think I'll just say best of luck to everybody, and I hope everybody does their best. There's a lot of potential in terms of what they can do in furniture, and India is a huge country, so uh, there's a lot of potential to be working in the furniture, especially.
So we have this amazing person, Parshva Shah. His Instagram handle is Artemis Stonecast.
Artemis Cast Stone, yeah.
Cast Stone. We all can follow him there and be updated by his exciting work that he is continuing to do, and enrich the design fraternity in general. Thank you again, Parshva, for being the guest and helping us take forward this competition ahead. We would be looking to collaborate with you in future times to come. Thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. So with now, I'll be closing the meeting and hope to see you guys in next Sunday session. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, Pasha, can you be there, and can I ask everybody to please switch on their videos so we can have a group photo session, please? Please. I'll call out names now. Sorry. Arya, Ayushi, Bharat, Devanshi, Arsh, Keshvi, Kriya, Mili, Nityashri, Roshni and Sakshi. Yes, I see a lot of them. Can you take a picture, please? Yeah. Wait, okay. Parshva, what are your thoughts on this competition? Where do you think, if at all, you are the juror, what are you expecting them to come up with? Because they being a student, they always need a definite answer.
So I think there is no limitation to what you can really do. Furniture is an experience in itself, and the form, the function, the overall aesthetic, uh, and the process through which they develop the furniture, leading to the final product. I think I would be looking at these factors if I'm looking at uh, the student design competition as a juror.
Yeah, the photo movement.
Big smile.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
Parshva, again. Hope to
Yes.
see you soon. Bye bye.
Okay. We can.